Hey guys, so today we are going to be continuing to talk about measures of central tendency. So when we're talking about measures of central tendency, there are really three that we are going to be focusing on. Number one, you should feel pretty comfortable with is the mean. Another word for that is the average of the data. Number two is the median. Median is found when you order the data from least to greatest, and then you look for that very middle value. And the new one that we talked about today in class and that we're going to continuing to talk about is the mean absolute deviation. This means what is the average distance of the values in the data to the mean. So first, let's start with a data set. Let's say we have something like 65, 68, 71, 77, 81, 82, 86, 88, 93, 93, 95, and 97. So a pretty big set. If I want to find the median of these, most of you should feel pretty comfortable with this. In order to find, I'm sorry, I think I said median, but the mean. If I want to find the mean, I'm going to add all of these up and divide by however many data points there are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So once I get my total sum, if I add all of these up, I end up getting 996, and I'm going to divide by 12. And when I do that, I will have the mean, which in this case is 83. So the mean here is 83. If I want to find the median, I'm going to line these data points up from least to greatest and look for the very middle value. Well, if I'm looking at the middle value here, I have 12 data points. So there really isn't one that's in the middle because it's even. So in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I am going to use values 6 and 7 in order to find my median. My median, since there is an even number of values, has to come from the average or the mean of the middle two values here. So if I take 82 plus 86 and I divide it in half, I end up getting that the median value here is 84. So the median is the very middle value of that data. In order to find it, you have to line your data up from least to greatest and then look at the middle values. If it's an odd number of values, you're going to take the very middle one. In this case, we have 12 values, so I'm going to take the average of the two middle values, add them up, divide by 2, and I get 84 is the median. So as you can see, these values are pretty close. Now I'm going to take this same data set and I am going to calculate my mean absolute deviation. If I wanted to find the mean absolute deviation of this data, I first need to figure out how far is each data value from the mean. We just said a second ago that my mean here is equal to 83. So I'm going to calculate for each of these 12 data points how far my data is from 83. I do this using absolute value. It's called mean absolute deviation because I use absolute value. The reason I use absolute value is because I'm talking about a distance. I'm talking about how far are these numbers on average from that mean value of 83. So if I take my first data point, I'm going to do 65 minus 83 and get the absolute value of that. Then I would do 68 minus 83 and I take the absolute value of that. 71 minus 83 and take the absolute value. 77 minus 83 and get the absolute value. 81 minus 83 and get the absolute value of that. So I'm going to start filling in some of these. If I do 65 minus 83, that actually gives me, let's see, negative 18, but I'm taking the absolute value of it, so it would be 18. 68 minus 83 would give me negative 15, so the absolute value of that is 15. 71 minus 83 that would give me, let's see, negative 12. So my absolute value is 12 here. 77 minus 83, that would give me negative 6, so absolute value would be 6. 81 minus 83 is negative 2, absolute value of that is 2. So you get the idea. You would go through this process with all of your data values here. Then I would take all of these, so I'm not done. I still need to do 82, 86, 88, 93, 93, 95, and 97. And if I calculate all of these, then I would take all of those numbers and add them together. So you take the sum of the deviations from the mean for each number, and you divide by the total number of values that you have in this set. So if I were actually finding the mean absolute deviation, I would do this same process for every single data point in the set, get the sum of all of those values, add them up, and then essentially take the average of them, find the mean. So I would divide by 12 to get the total number of values. Let's take a look at another one and actually work this out. So let's say I have this data set right here. I'm going to do a little bit shorter one for this example so that I can work it out completely with you guys. So let's say I have these data values: 67, 69, 69, 71, 74, and 76. And I want to find the mean absolute deviation of this. So I'm going to figure out first, how far is each value from the mean of this value? Well, if I'm talking about this particular data set, the mean of this data set, and you could calculate it, is equal to 71. So in order to find the mean absolute deviation, I first need to figure out how far are each of these values from 71. So I'm going to take 67 minus 71. And that's going to give me a distance. It's always positive, so it's 4 away from 71. 69 and 71, that's actually negative 2, but it's only a distance of 2 values away from the mean. Again, 69 minus 71, I'm just using these data points here. That gives me a distance of 2. 71 minus 71, that gives me a distance of 0 away from the mean. Could happen. 74 minus 71 gives me a distance of 3 from the mean. And then I have 76 minus 71, which gives me a distance of 5 from the mean. So if I take all of these numbers and add them up, 4 plus 2 gives me 6, plus 2 gives me 8, plus 3 gives me 11, plus 5 gives me 16. So my total sum of all of the deviations for each value from the mean is 16. I'm going to take that and divide by the number of values. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 values in that data set. So when I actually calculate this out, I get that the mean absolute deviation here, that's what this number is called, mean absolute deviation. I like to call it the MAD for short, just because that's kind of fun. So mean absolute deviation from the mean is 2.6 repeating. What that value tells you is another measure of central tendency, like mean and median. It's saying that on average, the data points or the data values in this set are 2.6 repeating units away from the mean of 71. And it's an indicator of central tendency and can tell you a lot about a set of data, especially when we're making comparisons, which we will eventually get to. Yes, you can do all of this on the graphing calculator. We worked with this a little bit in class today, and we will definitely continue doing that tomorrow. So make sure you are ready.